Let's continue the conversation on that subject with my old colleague, Congressman Peter King of New York, who's graciously staying with us by telephone. Pete, what about this reaction from Jay Johnson? I guess technically he's not in contempt of Congress there, but wow, he was very flippant in that exchange with Jason Chaffetz.
Yeah, Jason actually asked the question, too, in a very polite way. He was not haranguing Secretary Johnson. And for the most part, Secretary Johnson does a good job as a manager of the department. But on this one, he really, to me, to know of 4 Middle Eastern terrorists across the border, to say that they're going to be deported, 2 of them are still in custody and not been deported, and the other 2 released and have disappeared, and we don't know their status. That's an important matter. Remember, these are 4 that we captured. Now, we don't know about others we haven't captured. But if those that are captured, if 2 of them are able to get out of court, have a court release them, and then be able to make it across the border to Canada without us monitoring them, it's a real indictment. And then also, what are we doing to get them back? Canada is an ally. We should be pressuring the Canadian, not even pressuring, just requesting and working with the Canadian government, to get them back. So there's a lot of unexplained questions there, unexplained facts that Jay Johnson should come forward with. And again, I was in the room at the time, and sometimes you can have a member of Congress harassing a cabinet member or coming on strong to prove a point. Jason was actually very low-key, very direct, and very, very respectful. And so, to me, he certainly was entitled to much better answers, and all of us are. Forget Jason, forget me. The fact is, the American people are entitled to know why we can't keep better track of known terrorists. When it's hard enough, we have a hard enough time trying to find out who the terrorists are. If we do find out who they are, we should certainly be able to at least keep them under surveillance.
Fair enough. Now, that was out in public at the committee hearing. I've got to ask you about yesterday's meeting of the House Republican Conference. Do we have the audio from John Boehner? We do. Let's take a listen to what John had to say, Speaker Boehner. Then I want to get your reaction, Pete.
Sure.
Now, this is a serious breach of our Constitution. It's a serious threat to our system of government. And frankly, we have limited options and limited abilities to deal with it directly. But that's why we're continuing to talk to our members. We've not made decisions about how we're going to proceed, but we are, in fact, going to proceed.
Well, mindful of that. Now, Peter, is it true you guys are looking at a continuing resolution on through September?
What the current plan is to do an omnibus, which would make permanent spending through next September 30th for every department except Homeland Security, and that would get a 90-day extension. And then during the first 3 months of next year, we would attempt to address the issue of the executive order.
But that 90-day extension for Homeland Security, that essentially lets funds go to be used by Jay Johnson and others for border insecurity, does it not? It allows the amnesty program to move forward for those 3 months.
During that 3 months, yeah. And again, I think as John Boehner was trying to say, though, at this stage, before we have taken over full control of the House and Senate, should we be acting now in a way that probably won't get the results we want, or should we have much more power and effectiveness in January when we do move? And that's where I think where we definitely get the upper hand as far as blocking presidential appointments, blocking needed spending or expending that the president feels is needed. We would then have solid control in both houses. I think John would rather work from that position of strength than doing it now as we're approaching Christmas and making it look as if we're causing a government shutdown.
Peter, 30 seconds. Last government shutdown didn't hurt Republicans. The party won in a landslide. Why the fear about a shutdown this month?
I think the consensus is, and I share it, is that we won in spite of the shutdown. Our numbers went down dramatically during that month. It was only with the total failure of Obamacare and then the continuing failure with ISIS and other issues that the Republicans came back. But very few of us believe that we gained votes by the shutdown.
Fair enough. As we know from time to time, Peter, we're good friends, but we can disagree on matters. Always good to have you here. Peter King, Congressman from New York.
JD, again, thanks for having me on about the police. That's
great to have you on, Pete. America's Forum continues after this.